one more topic I want to cover from the book is the relationship between contemplation and friendship. So this is also, of course, within the ethics, but you're drawing out the contemplative aspect of it a bit more.
Sure. So, contemplation and friendship. We enter into friendships for a wide variety of motives. Right? Aristotle wants to understand what sort of motive is necessary for a friendship in the deepest sense of the word. And he also wants to understand what is the distinctive good that friendship adds to human life. Right? So in talking about our different motives for entering into friendship, he talks about utility, right? Sometimes spending time with someone is useful for me. For example, in a business partnership, we get along fine, but our main reason for relating to one another is that it's financially beneficial to each one of us to work together. There's a friendship of pleasure. So-and-so is the life of the party. Everyone wants to hang out with him because it's fun to be around this person. Right? But then there's friendship based on the good, as Aristotle calls it, which is when two people want to spend time around one another because they see each other's goodness and they're drawn together on that basis. And that leads to a kind of mutual commitment to one another. And they don't have to necessarily be perfect, but they both have to take virtue seriously. And they're drawn to one another for that reason, perhaps for other reasons as well. In that way, you're being drawn to the other person on the basis of their character, right? Which gets to the heart of who they are as a human being. But Aristotle not only wants to know what is friendship in this deep and full sense of the word, but what is the distinctive good that friendship offers us. And he poses towards the end of his discussion of friendship a thought experiment. He asks us to imagine that we were independently wealthy, that we didn't have to work for a living, that we were in good health, that we had everything that we could ever want except for friends. Why is it in that circumstance that something would be lacking in our life? And he answers that question by suggesting little by little that what would be lacking in that life is the joy of being around a person whose character and intelligence you value for its own sake, right? What would be lacking is the sheer joy of being around a good person and sharing your life with that person. And that is the first moment at which he comes out and says, it is possible to be deeply fulfilled as a human being by an act of contemplation. And it's not contemplating the guts of earthworms. It's not contemplating God. It's not contemplating the beautiful proof of a mathematical theorem. It is contemplating a friend, because that is and contemplating in the form of just spending time listening to that person talk and speaking back with them. Because that is where he thinks we can all really understand, if we have good friendships, the joy, the incredibly powerful and deep joy of just being around another person whose very existence you value, right? For no other reason that it is this wonderful existence of this wonderful person. And it's only afterwards that a few chapters later, he starts to talk about the way in which a life might be organized around contemplation of the divine. Right? You have to learn to contemplate the human. And he says, look, we can contemplate our own goodness. It's not very good. It doesn't work that well. We don't know ourselves in that way. But when you're around another person who has that goodness, even better when you're really close to that person, it's just sort of the best of both worlds, because you feel a stake you have an ownership stake in that person's existence because you're friends, and yet you can really see that person from the outside with a sense of calm and really getting a good view of them. That's for him the bridge to coming to understand that contemplation can be a source of fulfillment more generally.